What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. I'm finally got a data download here for the upcoming treasure map Sugo Fest, which is going to be featuring another one of these Memories of the Straw Hat characters, and this time it's going to be focusing on Usopp. So we're going to be talking about all these brand new characters. We have Usopp, we have Akaya, and then the Onion Pirates, or whatever they're called, and then we also have the Super Evolution of Mihawk, obviously released from the Pirate King Adventures. You can Super Evolve him with the treasure map. He gets slight upgrades. You guys know the deal by this point. So when they released the Sanji and the Zoro, I mean, it was pretty evident that I thought that they were pretty garbage legends. I think that they needed to give them some pretty unique abilities. The captain abilities just didn't do anything. And then their specials, while could be useful in some circumstances, the only real reason they actually become useful is either with their crewmate ability that can help recharge their cooldown, or their super type, but to get access to their super type, you need to use them as the captain. So I just don't think they were designed very well. So I was really hoping here that Usopp is going to be a bit better. I have had a brief read at Usopp. There's some aspects that I like, but mostly I think this character is going to be kind of a character you can just skip over and not even have to worry about. So let's go ahead and talk about him. So obviously artwork is pretty cool here, very reminiscent of the other Straw Hat ones that they've released thus far. So Usopp being a Dex, Shooter, Free Spirit, surprise, surprise. Captain ability will give Dex, Shooter, and Free Spirit characters 5.5 times attack with a matching slot, 5.25 times otherwise. So I think it's around the same multiplier as what the Sanji and the Zoro were. 1.3 times HP, tandem slots are going to be matching, boost the crew's chance of landing a tandem slot, and then if your crew uses a special to boost attack or orbs, you add 0.2 to the multiplier that is stackable, meaning that if you have this guy as your captain and you activate a 3 times attack boost, it immediately will become a 3.2 times attack boost that doesn't have like the plus icon on it. So it counts as like just a generic buff to it. It doesn't count as a stackable buff. You can just have this as a captain and buff any attack or orb boost by 0.2, which is pretty useful. But only when you're just thinking about high damage scenarios. In a lot of circumstances, you're not going to be using him as a captain just because of this effect. There are just better ways to get around it and to just use better captains with better multipliers that offset what this character can do by adding buffs to attack or orb boost. So captain ability is just underwhelming. It just doesn't do enough for people to warrant using him. Of course, he's going to be useful in the treasure map, but outside of that, I don't think he's going to see that much play as a captain, that is. I'll leave the special for now. Let's go to the super class, because if you use him as a captain, you'll get access to this. And for this, you do need 2 of the listed characters. Now, I can't remember if Zoro or Sanji needed 2 for their super class, but for a super class requiring 2 of the listed units is a little bit frustrating, I must admit. The effect here is for Onion, Pepper, Carrot. You've got Kaya, Heracles, Usopp, and Broggy is also included there, which is cool, as well as any of the other Straw Hats. And it gives a minus 10 turns of cooldown, delays all enemies for 1 turn, ignoring immunity to delay or immunity to status effects. So that's pretty cool. So guaranteed delay through everything. And then also boost Dex, Shooter, and Free Spirit character slot effects by 2.5 for 2 turns. And then shooters become super shooters. Now, I believe, the captain ability effect that buffs attack and orb boost when you activate them, it will only count for specials, meaning that his super class, which gives you the orb boost, doesn't receive a 0.2 upgrade. So that just doesn't make a lot of sense, and the fact that you have this guaranteed delay here, you'll see that there actually isn't any type of effect in his kit that gives you a delayed conditional boost, which doesn't make a lot of sense considering what his kit does. Let's move on to that special though. It delays all enemies for 1 turn, again, ignoring immunity to everything, so it means that his super class as a captain will get access to that, but also his special can do the same thing. It will also reduce all enemies' damage threshold by 7 turns, and then if you have a Dex or a Shooter captain, you apply a set target status for all enemies for 2 turns. Now, set target status, this is the second character to have this effect applied. The first character to get access to this was Cross Guild. Cross Guild, when you use their first special on their first activation, it would apply this set target status. I believe it was for 3 turns to all enemies on the field. And that effect was really cool, so it just meant that anyone that was a Driven or a Slasher just get double damage on those characters that have the set target status. And this is kind of like the same thing, because it does go through all immunity, so that's obviously powerful. And then Dex, Shooter, and Free Spirit deal 2 times additional damage to those characters. As well as, if one of those characters, the Dex, Shooter, or Free Spirit, kill an enemy with set target status, then they get -2 turns of cooldown added to that character. So that's pretty cool. Like, the cooldown reduction I don't think is like the most important mechanic, but the fact that this goes through full immunity and gives you 2 times increased damage for Dex, Shooter, and Free Spirit, just because of this effect alone, I can see this character being abused on like Kizuna Clash, for example, high damage teams, Super Boss Kizuna, because this just gives you 2 times increased damage taken that goes through full immunity that you can stack with the weaken debuff, with increased damage taken. So this is just great. It's just 2 times additional damage, and it goes through everything. So that's obviously incredibly useful. Now, moving past that, it also allows your crew's orb boost to be further buffed up to 2 times, and then if you use the special again in the same turn, then it further increases your attack and orb buffs by 0.5. So you can see what this character is aiming to do. This character is basically focused around using other specials, like use other crewmates to apply really good attack boosts, really good orb boosts, and then you have like this and Zoro and Sanji, and they have these effects that can further buff the effects that have already been applied. So being able to buff your orb boosts 2 separate times is pretty cool. You know, we've seen that Vegapunk has been able to do that when you launch his special. His attack and orb boost and affinity can be buffed multiple separate times, and yeah, it allows your multipliers to get pretty high. And if you do use his special twice, then you can buff it by 0.5. Using this character special twice though is not going to happen very often, but still, the biggest draw to this unit is the guaranteed delay through full immunity, obviously very good, and set target status. It is a massive shame that he does not provide a delayed conditional boost, because this would partner really well with like Final Tap Robin, as you could have like Final Tap Robin, defense down conditional boost through full immunity, and then double stack your conditionals, and then have this to give you a delayed conditional, and then set target status. So with those 2 units, you just have so much additional damage for your Free Spirit squads, right? And the fact that those units are different colors, and you got like Psy Gear 5, for example, like you build a pretty good multicolored team that way. However, that is not the case. So it's overall just kind of disappointing, because this effect is literally the only reason why this character will see any play moving forward, in my opinion. Moving forward, let's have a look at these crewmate abilities. So, Dex, Shooter, Free Spirit get 75 attack buff, and Tandem are matching for those units. And then if a Dex, Shooter, or Free Spirit uses a special, gives this character -10 turns of cooldown once per quest. So that's obviously a really good crewmate ability, but I don't think it's not going to really make that much of a difference at the end of the day. I think mostly you're just going to be using him once during a quest anyway. As for his potential abilities, he does have a critical hit, he does have barrier pierce, and he also has final tap. One thing I want to note, his barrier pierce, you need to be above 50% HP in order for the barrier pierce to activate. I don't know why they continue to do this. Barrier pierce should always be guaranteed at level 5 for all Sugofest exclusives. I don't know why it is health focused, where you have to be above 50%, because sometimes the enemy will health cut you, or you're going to be at really low HP sometimes, and the fact that that doesn't work for some legends, but some other legends can still go through barriers, I think it's a little bit stupid. It is what it is. And then the final tap, speaking of stupid, boost this character's damage dealt to delayed enemies by 2.25 for 1 turn, and give him 1500 base attack boost that can stack with other effects from the specials for 1 turn. So this is a final tap that gives a conditional boost, but it's only for the final tap character. And this really doesn't help you, because like if you are building a really high damage focused team, you're going to be having a conditional boost before reaching the final stage. Now, if you have another conditional boost when you activate the final tap, this will not activate, because you can't stack conditional buffs unless if you have activated your Nico Robin or your Big Mom effect and then final tap with Usopp, then that would work. It's just kind of stupid. This effect should have been in his special, and then this final tap effect should have just been something else. I just think this is just terrible. I feel like Bandai on purpose make final taps garbage, because like 90% I feel like of all final taps that come out are just terrible, and for some reason they have this really crazy obsession with giving base attack buffs in final taps, when yes, it does give them more damage of course, but they really overvalue how much damage this is really applying on final taps. It's a little stupid. We move on. We have a look at the Rumble stuff here. So if you use him in Rumble, his Rumble ability gives your Dex allies 6 defense and 6 speed, and if you have 5 or more Dex allies, all enemies get level 6 defense down and level 2 special CT down. That's actually really good. Good defensively focused abilities for Dex, and then if you have a full team of Dex units pretty much, then you get massive defense down and CT reduction on the opponents. That's a pretty good rumble ability. We have a look at this special though, 22 CT. So that's getting a little bit exciting there. 22 CT is good, but it will target enemies in a large range for speed down level 7, damage over time level 2, and then separately, this is a new effect now, target one enemy with high special CT for level 3 CT down, and then a CT 20% delay. So 22 CT for what that is like okay, but you gotta remember, this is a Sugofest exclusive, and I feel like this special just doesn't do enough. I would have preferred it if the special CT was closer to 30, but then this targets multiple enemies for special CT down and the 20% delay. I do like that he gives this the delay as well as the CT reduction, because sometimes like a 20% delay, when you actually think about it, it actually isn't that much, and depending on who you hit with that, depending on what will happen, by the time that character comes back, even though they had their CT reversed, because of the order of operations and how long it takes to get to the top of the order sometimes this reduction doesn't do anything, and then the character can just use their special. So there are certain circumstances where this is bad, but reducing the CT or reversing it and then inflicting the debuff of CT down level 3 means that it's a lot harder for them to charge their special, so I get that. But I just think this other effect, like speed down and damage over time, like this just doesn't do enough for 22 CT. So while I love the Rumble passive, the Rumble special is just not that good. And then his resistance, he is resistant to paralysis, and he gets damage reduction versus quick. And his support effect attaches to Broggy, Kaya, Heracles, Usopp, or any of those kids. And it says, once per quest, if you use a special, you reduce threshold by 1, and you delay all enemies by 1 turn. So, inflicting delay on a support effect, very rare. Not many characters are capable of doing that. But also removing threshold, this is just a good support. Attaching to some characters that don't really have a lot of good units that can attach to them. And not many good versions of these units kind of exist. But this is just a cool effect either way. So I think Usopp, they could have done a lot more to make him usable in content. The set target status is the thing I'm most excited about. But let's go ahead and move on and talk about the brief 5+ of Dracul Mihawk. So he is a slasher free spirit, still maintaining his color being Dex. Not too many changes I can see from the top of the order here. You get -2 turns of cooldown. You get the Slasher 4.75 attack boost, health boost, and then Slashers get a further 1.1 boost if their first class is Slasher. Okay, that's interesting. So if we pull up the calculator real quick, so it's a 4.75 multiplied by 1.1. A free-to-play captain going up to 5.225 is pretty solid. But let's have a look at this special. The special ability reduces all enemies' HP by 20%, so it's a damage dealing special, we love that. Reduces damage reduction, Rainbow Shield, by 6 turns, and then Slasher and Free Spirit get a 2.5 orb boost for 2 turns, and then a 30% Slasher resistance down to all enemies for 2 turns. If you have a Slasher or a Free Spirit Captain, reduces all characters' cooldowns by 2 turns. I think this is good. This is a good special. You're going to see this guy used in quite a lot of content, I feel. He's got utility, he's got damage boosting mechanics, the resistance down, which of course is just additional damage that can go through all immunity, and he has the capabilities of dealing with special reverse, and then also with that crewmate ability, reducing his special reverse by 2 turns, and then if a Slasher Captain uses a special, that's interesting. If a Slasher Captain uses a special, he gets -5 turns of cooldown. Yeah, I think it's just a solid unit overall. I don't really want to look at his Rumble stuff because free-to-play units in Rumble are kind of mid. You don't really care about that. But honestly, Mihawk looks pretty solid for a free-to-play unit, so I think that's pretty good. And Mihawk's been receiving some pretty decent supports as well. So yeah, Mihawk is a good unit. And then we got to the 2 rare recruits coming along with Usopp. So first is Kaya, Free Spirit, and Cerebral. Let's have a look at that special, which is the most important component. So it reduces 6 turns of burn. It changes all slots, including block, into their own type. So full board of matching slots through block. Heals crew by 15,000 HP. Boosts color affinity for Dex and Free Spirit by 2.25 for 3 turns. Okay. And then if there are delayed enemies when you launch the special, extend the duration of your attack and orb boost by 1 turn. And then if Usopp is on the crew or as a support on Kaya, applies a 20% Dex resistance to all enemies for 2 turns, and reduces the ship's special charge time by 1 turn. I mean, it kind of makes sense thematically. It's kind of weird. There's a lot of restrictions here. So in terms of the utility here, the burn reduction, kind of rare that you actually need that. You've got the full board of matching slots. You've got the healing mechanic, which is kind of cool. The healing I mean, again, it's fine. And then the color affinity of Dex and Free Spirit, 2.25 for 3 turns. I say there's a lot, but color affinity is one of the least usable type of boosting effects that you can use, just because it is solely focused on the color of the enemy for this to be useful, whereas attack and all boosts, it doesn't really matter what color the enemy is, you're going to be getting damage from that. So color affinity is fine. And then you need to have delayed enemies to extend the duration of your attack and all boosts. It's kind of like a whatever kind of effect. I don't think Kai is going to be used specifically for that use, but due to intimidation being as prevalent as it is, potentially this could see play just because of that alone. But then if you have Usopp on the crew as a support, you get the resistance down. The 20% dex resistance for 2 turns. I don't know if this character is going to see that much play. It's a bit of a weird unit. What does her crewmate abilities have? So she gets additional auto healing at the end of the turn, recovery buffs for Dex allies, and she does have shipbind ability, which is kind of cool. Now her support. So treasure map rare recruits typically have really good support. So let's have a look and see what this character does. It only attaches to Usopp. If the supported character uses a special, you increase your orb buffs by 0.2 and changes the supported character slot to matching, and then reduces your ship cooldowns by 1 turn. That's a really interesting support. And the fact that it attaches to Usopp as well, Usopp getting more support there, which is good. Buffing the orb boost, again, it's a bit dependent on your team comp at the time. And then getting a guarantee matching slot, that's always nice to have. And then reducing ship cooldown by 1. I don't think there's like any effects where they can reduce the cooldowns of your ship, like special reverse for ships. Potentially that'll be a thing in the future. I guess this is kind of like a speed farming kind of thing. Like if you need the cooldown on your ship for any particular reason, you would use it for that reason. So Kaya seems like just fine, honestly. Let's move on though. We've got the last character to talk about here. We have Onion, Pepper, and Carrot, Free Spirit Striker. Their special ability reduces damage reduction, which is Rainbow Shield, by 6 turns, changes their own slot including block into Dex, and then reduces Dex characters cooldowns by 1, and then boosts Dex and Free Spirit characters attack by 2.25 for 3 turns, and if there are delayed enemies when you launch the special, Free Spirit characters also receive -1 turn of cooldown. That's kind of frustrating. So their base special, every time you launch their special, Dex characters get -1 turn of cooldown. But then if there are delayed enemies when you launch the special, Free Spirit characters get 1 turn of cooldown as well. Interesting. And then if Usopp is in the crew or set as a support, increases your orb buffs by 0.25 and then reduces your special charge time by 1 turn. Okay, so potentially this could actually be kind of interesting, because it means that if you use the special when there is a delayed enemy, and then if Usopp is on the crew or as a support, this special can potentially give your Dex Free Spirit characters -3 turns of cooldown. So when you use it effectively, that actually could be kind of cool. As for the Sailor effects here, he gives himself -5 turns of cooldown at the start of the quest. I mean, I don't know why they do that. I mean, you've got the potential ability of cooldown reduction, but okay. And then Sailor ability 2 reduces their special reverse by 3 turns. Yeah, that makes sense, right? So, yeah, this character potentially giving you 3 turns of cooldown could actually be good, because sometimes, like, in very niche circumstances, there can be, like, 3 turns of special reverse in content, and it's just really annoying to get around. But this character potentially can do that for you, but there is the caveat of you needing to delay the enemy before you get that effect. Even if you just run Usopp on the team or as a support, you can still get -2 turns of cooldown for the crew. So that's actually kind of cool too. So yeah, I think this character definitely has a lot more uses than what Kaya does. The cooldown reduction stuff is really cool, and this character provides an attack boost compared to color affinity. They both provide okay utility. This character gets rid of Rainbow Shield by 6 turns, which is also kind of nice. As for the potential abilities, you got Slot Bind, you got Pinch Healing, and then the support attaching to Usopp. If you use a special, further increases orbs by 0.2 and reduces the cooldown of the character by 1 turn. So that's kind of weird, because it's saying, like, if you use Usopp's special, give that character -1 turn of cooldown. We've had a couple of characters that have done that in the past in their supports. It just doesn't help. So basically, this support is buffing orb boost by 0.2. That's basically all the support does. So yeah, not a very exciting support, unfortunately, but I think as a unit, Onion, Pepper, and Carrot are better. But the Kaya support, I think, is a little bit interesting too. But that's it. that's the rundown of the new batch that we have so far. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out. One thing to kind of note as well is on the actual post that our data miner has given us here in regards to the upcoming treasure map. It's a little bit low quality, but it actually mentions here that if you end up pulling Usopp, that it says 100% chance to add 2 additional item drops after you clear the content. So meaning if you have like 2 Usopps on your crew, then you get 4 additional drops at the end of a run. And then they also mention it for Kaya and the kids here. So Kaya gives an additional 1 drop, and you've got the kids giving an additional 1 drop of items when you clear the content. So potentially getting, if you have like the full batch, you can get 6 additional drops at the end of a run, like potentially getting like a special cool tablet, and you can drop it a bunch of times, or you get good limit break materials. This is going to allow you to farm limit break materials more effectively. So they're adding more value to these treasure map characters, which, I mean, should have been happening from the get-go. But it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of plays out, and I hope that this is a thing that they continue to do moving forward. I hope it's not just a specific thing for this celebration, but we'll have to see. Let me know your thoughts and opinions below about all of these brand new characters, specifically Usopp. Do you think Usopp is okay? Are you going to pull for him? Personally, I'll maybe do a discount multi, but I'm not really that excited about these units. I would love to just get one of the boosters and be kind of done with it. But let me know your thoughts and opinions about it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to go ahead, leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.